New Thought Media Network. We are a global broadcast network of positive music, media, and entertainment, inspiring humanity's evolution along the journey of enlightenment and creating a world of love, peace, empowerment, and prosperity for all. New Thought Media Network. Positively inspiring.
And hello again, dear ones. Rev BRZ with you over here.
Rev Z right here.
And Rev Pjae right here with you. Hi.
Our incredibly very special guest here on New Thought today. So I want to say first and foremost, thank you so much for being with us out there in whether you're watching on Facebook, YouTube, or maybe you're catching this on a rebroadcast. We get it. Watch what you want to watch and watch it when you want to watch it. And we have a great opportunity here today. I slipped away from Colorado. I'm in Missouri at Unity Village. It's my first visit to Unity Village. So if you've never been here, well, we'll talk about that later. If you have been here, you know what I'm experiencing, just kind of getting into the groove of this amazing, amazing location. And I'm really incredibly happy because I'm here for the Affiliated New Thought Network's annual conference. We say annual, you know, everybody's just going to skip 2020 and it still remains annual. So we're good. And we have one of the board members with us, a new friend of mine, Rev Pjae Stanley from the Harmony Spiritual Center in Fort Worth.
That's right. That's right. We met really not too long ago. And so just wonderful friends already.
Yes. So do make it easy on us and tell everybody out there a little bit about you and your center and how you get here today.
All right. So my name is Rev Pjae Stanley, and I am the Senior Minister of Harmony Spiritual Center in Fort Worth. So if you find yourself in that area, or just check us out on Facebook, I think you'll enjoy it. I'm a part of Anton. I'm on the board of Anton. I am membership chair, and I'm just really passionate about members because Anton is a member-driven organization. What we do is we help people who serve. And so if you're a service organization or a service person, we're here to help you serve in whatever way you want, whatever capacity that you want. So I'm loving this place. And I've been here since 1995. Nice. 1995. I love Anton. Yes.
Right on.
And sounds like a lot going on there.
It's a lot going on. Always.
Hey,
always.
And Z, why not remind everybody what you're up to in the world a little bit as well?
Well, you know, I'm still here in Denver, sunny Denver today. It was up close to 65, so that was pretty sunny. And senior minister at CSL Denver down in Capitol Hill, and we are chugging away trying to create an environment where everyone's welcome.
Yeah,
exactly.
Yeah. Folks, if you're watching online, please feel free to drop a comment in the comment box. We'll be more than happy to bring you onto the stream. There's Michelle Wadley, who is probably right down the hall watching this. But you'll be able to hear us as well as see us from down the hall. Reverend Michelle is here with us at the conference as well. And you know, we're going to have a lot of things this week. Reverend Michelle is going to be broadcasting live here from the conference. We have plans for some drop-in experiences and some surprise pop-up interviews for you. I'm working very diligently to get you an interview with Reverend Melissa and Rev Z. We're not sure. We're trying to work out the music piece of it all, but one way or the other, we're going to get to them to sit down with us. So it's going to be a really exciting week here at Unity Village. We're grateful you're joining us. And I want to remind everybody here on New Thought today, we look at what's happening in New Thought, in this philosophy, from a lens going beyond all the organizations and all the quote denominations. And we look at the guiding principles of all the various New Thought organizations to consider where the world is taking us, where the divine is taking us. We're not promising to have any answers by the time we're done today.
A lot of questions.
But we probably will have at least a few more questions for you. Exactly. Yeah. So Reverend Pjae, tell us a little more about your center, about your specific work and what's happening in Fort Worth.
Absolutely.
And what jazzes you up about being in a New Thought ministry today.
Well, first of all, New Thought ministry, I was raised a fundamental Baptist in Texas. So, and finally, the first time I stepped into a New Thought Center, I think like most people who did, I felt like I had found a river after I had been in the desert wandering for years. I felt like that. And so, so my whole passion is about, and when I found it, my whole thing was, where have you been? And why didn't I know about you? So my whole thing is to make sure as best as I can that we're there for those who are searching for us, and that we let people know we're here for you. So we're constantly advertising, just marketing, just making sure that people know we're available to them. We're inclusive. In fact, our purpose statement is that we are here to be joyously inclusive, spiritually enlightening, and life transforming. Because what we know is that if you understand the principles and you embody those principles of New Thought, which is there's only one, that we are one with the one, and that we co-create our lives. If you embody that information, your life is going to be spectacular. And I'm not saying that you're not going to have your troubles, because life is life and things happen. We lose people, we lose things. Life is life. But when you understand these principles, they don't take you out, and you have a foundation of how to come back, how to create the life you want for yourself and for your loved ones. So that's what we focus on in New Thought, and at the same time, or New Thought in Fort Worth, and at the same time, have a good time together. It's a wonderful tribe. It's a wonderful, socially, just a great tribe that we come together and learn and live and love. And we invite you to come and join us.
Excellent.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that whole thing, life is life. Robert will tell you, my whole premise, if you will, is life is prime. Everything else is secondary.
Okay.
Because and when we can do that, and we can look forward and live in that kind of a space,
yes,
now we can begin to put the right things in the right place and people in the right places, so that life flows continuously and joyously.
Exactly. And I love that word flow. Just standing, that's one of the things that I think about all the time, say to myself, say as a mantra, is that I'm standing in flow. I'm standing in the middle of flow all the time. So I confidently expect things to work out, to flow to me. I certainly understand all about the universal laws of attraction and all of that. So I expect good things all the time, even in the middle of trauma or something, some loss. I know something good has to happen. It has to happen because we are one with the one. So it has to happen.
Exactly.
Yeah. No, I was going to say that's key, because especially now,
Yes.
I don't have to say it, but I will, just because it's present, that over the past 2 years, we have been on the roller coaster of life. We have been up and down and turning wide turns and everything. And so, it's good to know and to have in your hip pocket, so to speak, that inner conversation and those principles to keep us centered and to allow us to go through these different challenges that we're facing, not trying to hide from them, but to learn from them and to understand how to get through any problems. And I think New Thought sets the foundation for that excellently.
Exactly.
We're preaching to the choir real quick here too, right?
Nice to say.
There was a panel discussion here today earlier where the topic was trends in ministry.
Yes,
right?
yes.
And my first thought was, well, the trend over the last 2 years is there ain't no trend. We got no idea what's going to happen day to day. We have, and every day is not only that new day, but every day is a mystery of what's going to come through.
That is correct. That is correct.
Who's going to call us? Who's going to have a loss in their family?
Yes.
And we also had a bit of a workshop around grief and loss this morning that they parallel real nicely, because we don't know the type of losses that everyone has had in the last 2 years, but
or how they deal with it.
Right. And we can feel confident that everybody's had some amount of loss.
Yes.
Somebody's got something, everybody's got something to grieve from the last couple of years. Now, what I love, however, is the New Thought philosophy demands we not stick around there. We don't pitch a tent and stay in that place.
I like that pitch a tent, yeah.
Right.
Exactly.
We get back into the principle, come back to the truth of, wait a minute, this does suck.
It does. We're not gonna deny that. We're not burying our head in the sand. This sucks. Okay. It sucks. But what's next?
Right.
So it's what's next? What's the expectation of what is coming from here? And you talk about it too, about there is no trend because everything is kind of flowing. It's up and down. We were going to have a grand opening, grand reopening because we moved to a new place. We're going to have a grand opening. Then of course, the Delta variant showed up,
right.
And so people were starting to come back, and then they go, whoa, we don't know what's everybody's backing back up, and they were masked back up. We don't know what to do, and so we had to put that off. And so we don't know exactly what's going to happen. What we do know is basics. And we do know it's all about back to basics. We do know that something wonderful is going to happen. And we do know that we just keep moving forward with what we know, claiming and declaring the good in our lives, claiming and declaring what we want to see happen. What we want to see happen is a place where we can serve. We want to see a place where our tribe, or the people that we love, the people that we want to serve, can show up and be served. We want to be of service. And so we're helping these people, all of us included, who have suffered a loss, to help them deal with it. Not deny that there's a loss. There is a loss. So what do we know for sure about this loss? That loss happens because life is life. It happens. And so what are we going to do from here? And so we can give them those prayer treatments. We can give them hope, because and it's not just pie in the sky. It is true. We know this too shall pass. It always does. So that's what we remind everybody of. Back to the basics and hold on to what you know. So that's what we're there to do. Yeah, that's what we're there to do.
And it just struck me as you were saying that about the Delta. Well, in mathematical and accounting terms, Delta means change. What was the Delta that happened? And so it's kind of ironic that Delta in some ways is requiring everybody to say, how must we change not only our individual lives, but our spiritual lives, our economic lives, and all of this to create this world, this life that supports everyone, that allows people to fully express themselves and to be supported in that endeavor.
Exactly correct.
So I'd be interested to hear, your thoughts on how must, churches or centers or, places of worship transform themselves, given I don't think we're ever going to go back to what
those days are over. The good old days, whatever we thought they were, they are over. They're over and they're done with. But really, is that any different than any part of our lives? And you just talked about about your son graduating and going off to get a job. Well, that's a completely different life than he's been living, right? And I'm not comparing that I'm not saying that, but I'm saying life is about change. Yep. It feels really big because it's been a worldwide change and an unexpected change, but change comes unexpectedly. So none of this stuff is new. It's just that it's so large. And so many of us are experiencing the same thing at the same time, which I think actually is a gift in unto itself. Because everyone is experiencing the same thing at the same time, and everyone's trying to help one another, trying to figure it all out at the same time. Mm-hmm. So I think it opens us up for what's possible. Yeah. We get to look at, because sometimes you'll bring something new. Hey, why don't we try this? That's dumb. That's stupid. But I think nobody really knows what's going on. So we're going to have to open up our hearts and minds to new possibilities that we've never thought of before. This stream, I never would have streamed. That's not something that I would have thought to do prior to having to stream. Yeah. Right? Yeah. And we know we're not going back from that, because now everybody knows they can sit and watch stuff in their pajamas. Why would they get dressed? So we know that this is a factor, and it changes how we interact. Yes. And just even understanding, how do you interact when you have a group of people that are sitting in their pajamas? How do you make it interactive for them? And so it even changes the way that I give my talks on Sunday mornings. I'm no longer just, and I know I was never very passive, but I'm even doing more to bring, right? Tell me in the chat. Tell me what you're thinking about. Did you hear what I said there? What do you think? And that's very different than I've ever done before. So all of us have an opportunity now to say, well, who are you? Which is part of what we do, right? As New Thought, we're constantly being transformed by renewing our minds. So we're renewing, refiguring, reconfiguring, saying who I want to be in this time and space. And then we confidently assume that Spirit is going to guide us through that, knowing what's in our hearts and minds. So I think those principles help us do that.
Yeah, it's interesting because you used the word there, engaging, right? And most people look at religious services as kind of passive. They sit there, the minister gives them information, they take it and they go. But I think this new paradigm we're in is saying that you must be engaged. There are some passive moments.
Right.
But by and large, this life, this, spiritualness, if you will, it calls for us to be engaged. And so I'd like to know, in terms of the physical buildings, for those of us who still have them and are going to them, how do you think they're going to have to change and be integrated into this new way of spiritual life?
It's so interesting that you asked that, Z, because here at the conference, it's one of the things that I like to do when I come to these kinds of things is to talk to people about what exactly are you doing? What does it mean to you now? And I spoke with this one woman who, when you hear something and it just resonates with you, think that is a good idea. I'm stealing that whole girl. I'm going to call it research, but I'm factually ripping it off because it's a really good idea. But she said that they're starting to do something. They're not even calling their center the actual physical space a sanctuary, which we weren't doing much, and we don't do congregation and sanctuary. It's not what we do in the thought, but our center doesn't do that. But what they're calling it now is the living room. Mm-hmm. And the reason why, just like we're sitting here now, it's about having a conversation, don't you? Yeah. It's about having a conversation. So once a month, what they're doing is she's not even speaking from the pulpit. She's sitting there in the living room, just like this, and having a discussion with her members. And also obviously streaming the whole thing at the same time. This, because they're not sitting in a chair, because they're not being spoken at, this really gets engagement. And beyond the engagement thing in terms of religion, this is really what New Thought is about, because it isn't about Sunday morning. It's about every single day. Yeah. It's about every single day. So we have to engage and help you to embody, to inculcate the information and the principles we're talking about so that you end up owning it and then using it. If you don't own it, it's not going to help you. You're not using it at all. So this really is a part of what we do in New Thought anyway. And I think that this time of our lives with the COVID and just having to rethink, I believe it's a refresh. It's a refresh on our old way of thinking and saying, hey, we're New Thought. What are we trying to do? How do we get to do that? We call ourselves creatives, that we're co-create with God, right? Right. Well, is this the perfect time to be thinking of putting that to work? Yeah, it's a perfect time. It's a perfect time.
I have long said, you're never going to get rich sitting in meditation, waiting for God to drop a couple of gold bricks in your head. I've tried. It doesn't work.
I'd like that to happen, but
no, it doesn't work. And so there's the engagement, right? Getting ourselves out there, engagement. And I also hear this part that I now want to create my service with time for you to go get coffee.
Exactly.
Like, okay, folks, the message is going to start in 3 minutes.
Okay.
Time to freshen up your coffee.
How about that?
Because half your audience is already, they got one foot headed towards the kitchen anyway. Or some other room in the house. Right. How do we create that engagement? I think you're hitting on a lot of great things.
Exactly. Exactly correct. Exactly correct. And so, it just if the fundamental basic point or goal or mission of New Thought is to have each of us be individualized expressions of the one, to know that we co-create our lives because thoughts are causal. If we really get that, then this is the time for us to be allowing people to speak, to talk with us and share back. I wasn't really clear about that point you just made. So, that's what the discussion, right? Because if you're talking from the pulpit, nobody gets to raise their hand. We weren't raised with, sorry, can you stop talking right now and explain that point? Even though we do that here at the conference. But
this conference is very good.
Oh, my God. I'm sorry. I know you're in the middle of your thing, but what was that? We're not used to doing that in a Sunday morning talk. And I think that part of the thing with people watching from the streaming, they can actually interact because we have someone looking at the Facebook page and taking questions from chat, and they'll tell me while I'm talking, oh, they didn't quite get that. Can you repeat that or whatever it is? So we're interacting in that way as well. So, the interaction and the owning it has to come from discussion. It has to come from discussion. So the old model of just speaking and letting people nod, and they're going to nod in your face, but later on they're going to, what the heck was she talking about? That doesn't work for me at all.
We used to call that the plop, pay, and pray method.
Oh,
plop your butt down, pay into the bucket,
okay,
and then we'll pray for you.
Okay, and that's it.
Yeah, plop, pray, and
I like
pray.
it.
Or plop, pay, and pray.
Well, that's gone. That is gone. It's gone. It's gone. It's certainly gone from New Thought. I don't know if it was ever here for New Thought, but it's definitely not something that that's part of our mission. It's just in service.
And with that, there's this new term that's floating around called the hybrid church.
Yes.
And the hybrid center, or however different individuals choose to define themselves, but communities define themselves. But I think it's still a fuzzy term, because I think a lot of people assume that means we have a in-person service and a streaming service.
Right.
And for me, that doesn't work as a hybrid center. That works as a center broadcasting.
Exactly.
And so I'm interested in just having a round robin here on what do you anticipate this new hybrid thing will look like, or what will it provide, or how do people begin to try to plug into it?
It's so interesting, and again, just having lots of conversations around that while we're here, and before even getting here, part of the conversation was, it always comes back to several of the same conversations. One of them is about young people. Yes. Because we have young people show up, and it's so frustrating because they show up, they seem to really like the message, but they don't continue to show up. And so what's the situation there? And as we're looking at that, how do we engage? And of course, we ask them, and they're going to tell you whatever they can tell you, but I don't know if they're really in tune to what's happening either. But part of that could be the time that we do service. I mean, what teen wants to get up and be at church at 10 a.m.? I don't have a lot of adults that want to do it. So some of that hybrid stuff has to do with different times of the day or night. So we might be thinking about when is service? Does it need to be on Sunday morning? Can it be on afternoon? Does it need to be on Sunday at all? Why does it have to be on Sunday? So part of that is a hybrid of when we do talks, when we do classes or study groups, or the whole living room concept of discussion. All of those to me are parts of hybrid in terms of how we get the message out differently and engage and have people interact in a way that works for them. Yeah. That's key. Yeah, it is. It is. And that's going to be part of the conversation, which is why you have to have conversation. I don't know from sitting here what works best for you. Right. I don't know it. We have to try a lot of different things. We're talking about because we have a very large space, two huge TV sets where we do our streaming from. But we're thinking about, we could do different things. We could just come here on a Saturday afternoon and watch the boys, watch the Cowboys.
Yeah.
I mean, just what
spiritual football.
Okay, spiritual football.
That is what this one's in his arena. I'm going to use all my football puns in the next 10 seconds. This one's in his. Take it.
Run with it. Well, and the interesting thing there is, one thing we're looking at in our community is the theater chain Cinemark, right? Cinemark has come up with this idea where you can rent the theater.
Yes. Exactly.
And, you just have to have 20 or 30 people, depends on what it is. And so, we're exploring now in terms of a hybrid kind of a model. Right. Hey, why don't we rent the theater just for the center, and you bring a guest or whatever, and we have the whole center with us. You can pre-arrange if you want snacks, you can order them, they'll deliver them, or you can pick them up. And again, you begin to create that family, that community, that togetherness, not just being talked to or taught, but sharing, life.
Exactly.
An event, an experience.
Exactly correct.
I believe that's a big part of it. We want it's hardwired in us as humans to desire that shared spiritual experience.
Exactly.
And I was just in Vegas last weekend, and there's a big EDC, the big EDC thing. So
I don't know what that is.
it's all based on electronic dance music.
Oh, okay.
But it's an annual festival.
I am. I
And
know
if
that
you're
was.
under 30, you know what I'm talking about. and it was moved, and it's going haywire. But my point is, for those 20, 30, 40, 50,000 kids, that's a shared spiritual experience.
Exactly.
They may not call it that.
No.
But that for them, that's that mystical, we're all in this together. We're all coming together, and we're going to have this shared thing. And we're going to walk away from it and be able to say, yeah, I was there.
Exactly.
I saw that too. I met God there also.
Right.
We're all a little older, so maybe it's not the thump, 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 jump up and down dance concert, but I really believe we're destined and so hungry for the shared spiritual experience.
I agree with you. I couldn't agree with you more. One of the other things that I certainly look at is, where do I meet people? Where do I meet people that I can serve? I can't just expect them to show up at the center. Where else are they? Where else can I get that message across in a way that doesn't feel like they're in church, but they're at a spiritual center? And so I go out in the community and do different things. I do classes, meditation classes, or how to write a book, or how to write a song, or any kind of at the community college. I do some different things. Actually just went recently to do an audition, just because I just wanted to see what it was like to do a cattle call audition at Wesleyan, at Texas Wesleyan School. And the experience was so amazing. Number one, I was the oldest person there, because everybody there was, college kids, right? So I'm the grandma, right? But it was an eye-opener for me to see how the kids auditioned in a cattle call situation. If the producer or the writer said, I'd like to see the you four read from this script, they didn't just get up and start reading the script. They went to the middle of the thing, shared with each other. They talked with each other and said, well, I'm thinking about doing it this way. What do you think? Will that work for you? It was such a cooperative adventure with them trying to get a job. It was an amazing situation. So I got to see that this is how this particular young group is cooperative. And I didn't know that. So
well, and it's interesting that you bring that up, because my son, who we were talking about before we got online, he was looking to take a public speaking course this term, and that class was full. And his advisor said, well, why don't you take this acting class? And so him and a couple of his buddies who were looking to take this public speaking class, they took the acting class, because the advisor told them that, hey, you're going to learn everything you learn in the speaking class for the most part here in acting, but you're going to also learn how to engage as an actor, not as a speaker, how to include and paint a picture and draw people in a little differently from a speech.
Exactly.
And so that's what I'm hearing, taken from that, is that's how we have to begin. We have to begin to tell a story and create experiences as leaders and teachers in this movement, and not just be given a speech or given a lecture, because they are very passive in their one way.
Exactly. I couldn't agree more, Rev BRZ. I couldn't agree more.
And that's in many ways the history of New Thought, is a professor, a lecturer, someone that, and we know, at least in the religious science side, Dr. Holmes was an orator. Everybody came to hear him speak, but it was always that one way.
Yes.
And yes, kids today, the younger generations, if it's not authentic, they're running.
Number one,
they don't even listen. You're gone.
You lost them.
And number two, if there isn't that sense for them to get engaged, to be part of the conversation.
Right.
I remember one of the first churches I ever got to experience, they did the God is good all the time.
Yeah, all the time. God is good.
Right?
Yes.
And if anybody in the room says God is good, the whole place erupts with all the time. Hey, I love that stuff.
That call and response.
But I don't see very many communities really embrace that kind of interaction. We were talking about this a little earlier, right? That it's still and here's what I'm all about breaking down, is it's still hey, my show, and I got something to say, and thank you all for coming to hear me talk about what I'm here to say. when again, that's not what they want.
And I agree with you completely. But there's also another thing you said, that that's the history of New Thought. So not only is the history of New Thought from the speaker perspective, it's the history of New Thought from the listener perspective. Yeah, they're not used to call and response.
Right.
So if I get up and I'm again looking for the engagement, and I'll say something and I'll go, this means yes, and that means no. I'm looking for it. I don't know what you're talking about. I was saying, it's a real question. I'm looking for a real response. So we're having to reteach, show them exactly this. It's okay to speak up. I want you to speak up and engage with me. So we have to give them permission to actually do so if that's what we want. Yep. Because we know that that's really what's going to work and get them to embody the information. So again, it's part of the leadership to begin to do those kinds of things as well, to ask them to engage with you. Yeah, I agree.
And I laughed. I use that. This means yes. This means no. This means I have no idea what you're talking about. Please go back and start over.
Okay, this means what?
Well, yeah, and when coming from the South and having that Black church experience, whether it's Baptist or Pentecostal or whatever, one of the ways that the Black church engaged the community was through call and response songs.
Absolutely.
Call and response throughout the message.
Yes.
And through the music, where you could get up and let the Holy Spirit take you.
And dance, baby.
And dance right there in church. So it was engaging.
Yes.
And as you said, what made me think about it was that whole idea of embodiment, because we know the more faculties or the more sensory perceptions you put involved in learning, the deeper the learning sits. Exactly. So if it's just spoken, that's one thing. If it's spoken and read, that's another. If there's movement, there's another. So if there's music, there's another. So we begin to create these environments that are hybrid, if you will, or these containers of hybridness. And then I think the other part of it is we have to turn these centers into something else other than Sundays and Wednesdays, just to have church and prayer service and class. We got 5 other days. We need to be doing something in those centers to make.
That's absolutely correct. I completely agree with you. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Folks, if you're just joining us, this is New Thought Today. I'm Rev BRZ. I'm here with the great and amazing new friend, Reverend Pjae Stanley from Fort Worth, Texas. We're in Missouri at Unity Village. Rev Z is in Denver at his home studio. We've been having a great conversation. I'm thanking you for being with us. Please, we're going to take a very short break here, say thank you to some of our sponsors, and grab a little sip of water. While we do that, we invite you to join us, say hello to our sponsors, and maybe hit that share button. Let your friends know what you're watching. We're going to come right back with a bit more here on New Thought Today.
Thank you, Center for Spiritual Living Denver, for your continued support. Thank you, Center for Spiritual Living Midtown Atlanta, for your monthly contribution. Thank you, Center for Spiritual Living North Jersey, for your monthly contribution. And Suze Ajit, thank you for your very generous donation. And a special thanks to Hefferland Foundation for your generous technology grant. And a big shout out to all our committed donors.
Yes. Thank you to all of our committed donors, our committed sponsors, whether it's an organization or an individual. It is thanks to you, our viewers and our listeners, that make all of this possible. If you'd like to get your name on one of those slides, well, hey, just head on over to the website, ntmedia.org/donate. It goes through one of our partner nonprofits, Give Butter. If you'd like more information about them, you can click on there and learn. But you can sign up for a one-time donation or a recurring monthly donation of any amount And please know that every amount goes a long, long way to making this network happen. So thank you for being a part of that. We're New Thought today, back here with amazing Reverend Pjae Stanley from the Harmony Spiritual Center in Fort Worth, Texas. We've been having a really fun conversation, if you ask me. I think, we get going on these things and they just keep going. And it's like, how did we get there?
Yeah.
Spirit took us there.
Absolutely.
And so that's where I want to kind of jump off for our next segment. Affiliated New Thought Network.
Yes.
I'm not even sure how I got here. It might take me a couple more conferences to figure out exactly how I got here, but I'm really happy I've gotten here.
Yes.
You've been here a little bit longer. Obviously, you're in leadership. You're helping to bring this work out into the world. Help us understand a little bit. How'd you get here? And more importantly, what is ANTN doing in relation to all this that we've been talking about, getting out there and the engagement and the interactions, and how can people get involved with that as well?
Right. So good questions. All great questions. So I got involved with Anton, the Affiliated New Thought Network, because first of all, Angelo Pizzello, who I think I'm not really sure. I think he's the co-founder, could be the founder, a part of that founding group. And I know Marilyn Hall, because the first church that I stepped into, New Thought Church, was CSL in El Cajon, California, and she was a part of that. She was definitely a co-founder of Anton, and so she invited me to one of their retreats. I was new, I was thirsty. You know how it is when you first find and you hear about something that just resonates, and you're thinking, where have you been all my life? And so I just started taking classes and just being a part of that. Anton is a group that helps those who serve to serve. So they have an educational arm, which is Emerson Institute, Theological Institute, ETI. So took a lot of classes through them just to understand more about what this New Thought process is. What is going on? Anton is an umbrella association. We have Unity, we have CSL, we have Science of Mind, Divine Science, you name it. Whatever New Thought organization you might be a part of can sit under this umbrella organization. We are a resource. The biggest thing that we do is we're a resource. We help those who are trying to serve. And one of the things that Anton does is to say yes. If you come and you have an idea, there's something you're thinking about doing, there's something you're thinking about, there's a whole new track of information you'd like to figure out. We say, great. How can we help you? What do you need from us? We have so many members that are so skilled in a variety of things, whether it's technology, whether it's how to build a website, whether it is how to live stream. When we were coming to this area, to this time with COVID, and we thought, oh my gosh, what are we going to do? We had great technicians that could help us out. So whatever, and we know that that's how life is, right? Yeah. Life is always about change. And to have this absolutely amazing resource that you can say, life has thrown me a curveball. What do I do? Here's where you can go. Here's who can help. Call Reverend this, call Doctor that. So there's just so much going on. So that is what Anton is about. That's what we do. I'm on the board. And one of the things that I think it could be from my background in Black churches, but you don't join if you don't serve. There's no, you don't just join and sit in the pews. It's just not possible. So if I find something that is serving and is doing a really good job, then my question is, what's my part in it? Right. What do I get to do to make sure that this is around? One of the first things I said when I stepped into New Thought was, I am so glad you're here. What's my role to make sure it's here for anybody else who needs to find it? That's exactly what Anton does as well. Anton doesn't really care about how you come in, whether you're New Thought or you're New Thought, but whether you're a CSL or whether you're Unity, it doesn't matter. If you need some assistance, that's what Anton is here to do for you. So we encourage you to join. You can go on the website, which is anton.org or newthought.org as well. We have two websites to check out and to see what we're all about, how you can join, what the membership benefits are. And there are many. I'm the membership chair, and I can tell you there are many benefits for being a part of Anton.
Yeah. Beautiful.
Not to mention this beautiful annual conference.
Yes.
That's a lovely Unity Village. Woo!
So, amazing. Folks, and again, if we're going a little quick here, it's ANTN, Affiliated New Thought Network. Yeah. Anton. And I think it's .org, antn.org. She'll get you there, or newthought.com.
Exactly.
I think we'll get you there.
Absolutely.
So, and I love, as you were sharing, I heard it myself. Where have you been all my life? Like, where is this community?
What?
I don't know that I've ever walked into an organization or a community where the first thing I heard was yes. Like, the first thing I heard in the new member orientation was, "Hi, welcome. We're the guys that say yes." You got some crazy, weird idea? Exactly. We'll say yes.
Exactly.
And for those that have been around me or know my ministry, know this work, know that that's a big part of my philosophy. As ministers, our job is to say yes.
To say yes.
And then figure out how to make it happen. As long as it's all in alignment with New Thought, right? I'm not going to say yes to a satanic death ritual on a
chickens,
Wednesday night.
snakes, and all this type of thing. We're not doing that.
Definitely not the snakes.
Not doing that.
Chicken dinner, maybe.
Okay, right.
Snake too. No.
Yeah, but definitely aligned with New Thought principles, which again is simply that there is one power in this universe, and that we are individualized expressions of that power, and that we get to co-create our life. That is a powerful statement. For me, for a lot of people, it's not, because there's nobody to blame.
Yeah.
There's nobody to blame, and we're not in the blame, shame, shoulda, coulda, woulda business. What we're in the business of is living the life you're here to live. We know that we're all here for a purpose. Yeah. You know there's a purpose for your life. You just may not be sure about how to get it done. One of the things that we do in New Thought, the first thing that happened when I stepped into a New Thought facility center was they said, take this class so that you can learn how to manifest your life. If we can't show you how to manifest, we're not doing our job.
Right.
The first thing they talked about, how do you manifest? Meaning, how do you co-create your life? How do you have things come into your life that you want? That was the first thing they taught me.
Right.
I mean, you gotta love a place like that.
Yeah.
You gotta love a place like that that's helping you get what you want.
Right.
You know?
Because we far too often walk into somewhere and the first thing we hear is, well, hey, step up to the volunteer desk.
Okay.
Here's how you can do
you can serve us. Right.
Versus, hey, how can we serve you?
That is a beautiful, it's a completely reverse of what I've done, what I've known about my whole life when it comes to religion.
Right.
Just it's an amazing, amazing situation.
All right. So the big question of the day.
Yeah.
And we, like I said, folks, we had a panel discussion. We submitted questions. I got lucky, and they picked my question, one of my questions for the panel. But you weren't on the panel.
I was not on the panel.
Well, the panel was recorded, so I'll let everybody else make their decision about those answers. I'd like to hear your answer to this. What do you see as the future of New Thought? Where's the path forward? How do we activate all these things we've been talking about today? From your perspective, from your vantage point, maybe from your heart and your desires, where are we headed? And
this is this is what I'd like to say, because New Thought is one of those religions where we don't say you have to do anything. You don't have to do anything. You show up because you want to be here, because your heart is leading you. So when you're trying to herd cats, which is pretty much what you're trying to do with New Thought, because everyone has, this is how it should go and this is how it should be. So I want to talk about, from my perspective, from my passion perspective and position, and what I know about New Thought to be true in terms of our basic principles. I believe that you can't give what you don't have. You cannot give. Okay. You don't understand what the power of unconditional love can do if you don't love yourself unconditionally to begin with. Right. Okay. Yes. So it has to begin with you, and to have congregations or and I don't want to call them congregations, to have members or tribes who don't really get that yet. I think there's work there. Okay. There's work there, and I think that once we get that and we are getting the basics, and it's back to Maslow's hierarchy of need. If we're taking care of ourselves, we're fed, we've got shelter, we're making money, and now we're starting to become enlightened. Yeah. And when we are enlightened ourselves, the next thing that happens is we're lighting the world. Yes, we're lighting the world. Yes. Okay, so those are the steps. It has to happen that way. We can't enlighten the world until we are enlightened ourselves. And I think that that's part of what our work is to do. What we don't do and what we're confused about, I think, we don't proselytize.
Right.
Meaning we don't say, you got to come here or you're going to hell in a handbasket. We don't do fear. And so a lot of people will go to church as a hedge against death. Like, I don't know if there's a heaven or a hell, but I'm going to go just in case.
Right.
That's not what we do here. We say come because your heart's telling you to come. And because you want a better life for yourself. And once you have a better life, you can't help but want to help someone else have a better life because you see how great it is.
Yeah.
When your life is great, oh my God. When you're living your purpose, when you're standing in the middle of flow,
yep.
You're trying to pull everybody in the middle of flow with you.
Yes.
Because you know what the world looks like.
Yep.
When we know life is abundant. That's you inculcating and owning the message,
right? That
God is, we are, and we co-create. If that's the truth, then all of life is abundant. So I can't. So my getting mine,
right,
doesn't take from you,
right?
So I don't need to hoard. So I can see you in trouble, and I can give you everything I have.
Everything.
I can give you everything you need because it doesn't take from me. That's I see the God in you. God is saying, give it all because I know it's going to return.
Yep.
This is what I see as the future in terms of what we need to do, and creating centers, living our centers back to basics. It's always back to basics. It's always that. It is that, and making sure that every individual is like that, and then we're going to go out in the world and shine it.
Yeah.
There's just no other way.
You know, I love that because, you know, I'm a big proponent of nature is the perfect example of how we should be living and engaging with life. And when it rains, it may sometimes rain in one place or another, but when it's raining in this town, this neighborhood, it's raining everywhere. There are not drops falling on the roses and not falling on the daffodils.
Okay. It's falling.
The rain is falling, and if you're in the right position and you're in the right frame of receiving,
right,
you receive the rain.
Right.
And so it's that same way with giving of God, of spirit, of anything.
Yes.
The counter to or the counterbalance to that is, as long as we are open to receive. If I put my cup in the rain, but I got my top on it, I can't talk about I ain't getting no rain. Well, you should have took the top off. The rain was falling really good.
Okay.
You missed it.
Okay. Exactly. It's so interesting to have these conversations with people that are talking about, well, I can't do that. I'm just so nervous. Well, yeah, you're right. You can't, because that's what the universe says. Yes. It's right. Yeah. Whatever you're declaring, the universe says yes to it. Right. So we get to understand and know. Declare your life. So what's the future? That's your question. What's the hope and what's the future? If God is all there is, the future has to be bright.
Yes,
it has to be bright. I don't know if I'm going to say the thing right, but I love Martin Luther King's quote or his thought about the arc of justice, and it's slow. And it's low, but it arcs up. Yeah. It arcs towards up and positive. We know that. So we don't have to worry about what's happening today or yesterday. What we want to look at is what's happening overall.
The trend line.
The trend. Yeah. The trend is towards love. Yeah. The trend is towards everybody seeing what real love can do. And that's what the future is for New Thought. I think it's, to me, and it may be egotistical in terms of the fact that I am a New Thought person and believer, but because our basic idea is that you and I are one, and so to love me is to love you, I think New Thought is actually the hope of the future. I think it's a hope, because if you're my brother, you're actually me, but let's just put it in terms of, right, because what people understand is brotherhood. So if you're truly my actual brother and I do no harm to you, then, and we see everybody is that way, there's no harm I'm going to want to do to you. I'm only
Right.
going to want to help you.
Yeah.
The idea of trying taking from you, the idea of taking something from you because you have something I want is it's not possible.
Right.
It's not possible. So in the long term, it is about the hope of new thought and whatever iteration it turns out to be, whether they continue to call it new thought, I don't care what it's called.
Right.
What I care about is the principles are the same, that we see each other as one.
As one.
That unconditional love, it lifts us all. And there is a thing that I say, and it's about the peace that passes understanding.
Yes.
So when you love unconditionally,
Sweet.
it passes. You don't need to understand things. It's lifted anyway. It's simply lifted, and you don't even understand how it happened. Doesn't matter. It happened because love is there.
Yeah.
Because true love is there, and you're doing things not for your own gain, but for the other person, for the one,
piece.
because the one is you.
Yeah.
It seems convoluted, but that is the answer.
Did you catch that, folks? Right. It's all one. It's all love, and it's all peace.
Okay.
And it all
really
leads
is.
to that.
It really is.
Wow.
Yeah.
We're running out of time, but this is a fascinating and amazing and so much fun. And, folks, if you've been watching along or you've been catching us waving at people and such, we've kind of got a little bit of a reverse thing where they're not behind us looking in, but we're in a common area of the hotel. So all of our friends have been wandering by and going through there.
And hearing us and going, yes!
Yeah, David. And, it's really hard as anybody to sit here and pretend they're not there. Right? Like, hi, we're waving to everybody. So, and you'll see that throughout the week. Again, we're going to be here all week. Reverend Michelle Wadley is going to be with us on Thursday. Her show, Jersey Girl Wisdom, normally airs at 10 a.m. Mountain Time. And she's going to have Reverend Jerry Troyer with us on Thursday. We've got other guests and other special folks happening. Rev Melissa and Rev Z are here. We're working on an interview with them. I know I've seen Reverend Mark Anthony Lord floating around. I'm hoping to pigeonhole him into a corner sometime, get a little interview. But we're going to be here all week, bringing you all kinds of fun stuff here from Unity Village and the affiliated New Thought Network Conference for 2021. It's so much fun. We've got so much going on. Before we go, how do people stay in touch? What's going on for you? What do people absolutely have to know before we wrap up today?
What you have to know is that you are welcome here. You are welcome to come join us at Unity. You know what you're talking about, because we're at Unity Village, so it's just this whole energy going on around here. But you're absolutely welcome at Harmony Spiritual Center of Fort Worth. Our purpose is to be joyously inclusive, spiritually enlightening, and life transforming. And we welcome you into our tribe with love and open arms. So if you're in the Fort Worth area, please stop by and see us. If you're not, Rev Pjae at pjae@gmail.com. That's the easiest way to get a hold of me. Please get a hold of me and ask any questions you have. If you heard something I said here and you're like, what is she talking about? I need to hear more of that. Please do. Rev Pjae. Yeah.
And if you're sitting there going, what is she talking about? Well, then don't worry. You can just go to something else. But if you did like what you hear here and what you saw here, please keep on joining us and coming back. I also want to do a big shout out. Z, get yourself up here on the screen today. Yeah, every time I go out on the road, Rev Z has to step in and push the buttons in the background and produce the show and find all the right stuff. And you did a very admirable job today here, sir. Thank you so much for being a part of this.
Thank you. Well, it's been a pleasure to get a chance to meet Pjae and be a little jealous that I'm not in Unity Village, hanging out with you guys. I was trying to get the link for the center up. I finally got it to drop it in the chat. So there it is right there for everybody that's looking. And I can't wait to meet in person. And next time I'm putting it on my calendar so that I'm there and we can do this in person.
Perfect.
We've got the dates for next year. So
and we already have some speakers.
And some of the speakers have been announced. Yes. I forget them offhand, but we'll get them to you folks. And Z, next year, no questions. You'll be here.
Sounds good.
All right.
Cool. Folks, we're going to get out of here for now.
Thanks for having me today.
Thank you for being here.
Thank you so much.
It's so
Good
much
to
fun.
meet
I
you,
hope you'll
Z.
come back again and again.
Absolutely. Thank you so much. Good to meet you, Z.
Good to
Until
meet
next time,
you.
folks. Peace.
Have a great day. Peace.
Thank you so much for having me.
No.
New Thought Media Network. We are a global broadcast network of positive music, media, and entertainment, inspiring humanity's evolution along the journey of enlightenment and creating a world of love, peace, empowerment, and prosperity for all. New Thought Media Network. Positively inspiring.